There is people out there in the world that think agriculture shouldn't exist and the grocery stores is where all the food comes from. It's hard to really believe that, but there is people who think that. They'd rather not see any of it and live in a little perfect world instead of face the fact that there is people that work hard to feed everybody else. You are now watching Farming with Duffy Ag. Welcome back to the channel. We're still Rotary mowing. So the cows did get moved on pasture to the next one, so we should do that at some point. Gonna go do around some fields, check some things out, probably do around my house, see where we get to. It's I don't know, 6 o'clock. Yeah, 6 o'clock. Just got done with maintenance work for my dealership job. We're gonna get right after it. I figured I might as well mow my roadway in and out of the manure pit and out back. I gotta trim these branches. Well, figured we'd start there. Like I said, the cows are in this back pasture now. They did end up moving some heifers across town. So we kept the cows here because they're all due to calve earlier than the heifers, but they'll live it up there. There's quite a lot of feed out there. And second cutting down there looks absolutely killer, so we're doing good. Still working on mowers. My father found one that we like, but the price we don't like. It's in Canada. I was pretty close to that post. So we will see what goes on. It's not mine to make a decision on. I just run it at the end of the day and deal with it. But yeah, pretty much a Coon or a Crone. That's what we're gonna go with. That's what we've pretty much decided. We're not buying a big M, so we kind of let the pasture get away from us. That's why we're dealing with the situation now. We should have had animals in it sooner, but yeah, resources and priorities, it got put on the back burner. That post, there we go. Yeah, second's looking really good. Gonna have quite the yield. This all got manure and it looks killer. So around the fields, the state does have trails because we are in a 1,000-acre state park, but they don't actually clean up to the edges of the fields. So here we are, cleaning up to the edges of the fields. Yeah. You can see it gets yellow here where it's always wet. Got to start top dressing with urea. That's something I've got to get done by next week. Otherwise the corn's going to be too tall and will lack some benefit. But overall, the corn looks really good. It's always wet here. The spring we had, can't even blame it on that. You can see I didn't even plant there. I picked the planter up and got out of there. But yeah, this mower does a pretty good job. Reason behind cleaning up edges of the field: number one, pride, look good. Number two, it actually helps keep down any weed pressure moving in, trees, stuff like that. So could have got a little closer there. I guess I wasn't paying attention. corn. Sprayer should have went a little further to the edge. So I only sprayed a few fields and this wasn't one of them. Well, that's always a problem with the sprayer operator. This stuff is looking killer. So this was planted before this because, well, in the back over here is all wet, and I should have probably just planted rice back there because it never grows anything. But I'm very content with how this stuff looks. So mowed the laneway in. We got the laneway because we got more fields in the back, including 2 hay fields. Well, cleaned it up as close as I could to each side. So for those of you who watched the spraying video, we talked about running over corn and coming back up. This was exactly where the sprayer was parked, or the tender trailer was parked. So as you look out in there, you can't tell what corn I ran over. It all popped back up. It does get a little yellowy right here. That's these 3-point hitch arms rattle bang around. That's lack of nitrogen for right now. It's not that yellow. We definitely have some spots like right here is yellow, and that could be the manure spreader never spread there, it was wet there, or it's just the ground soil. So with that being said, we are going to top dress everything and go from there. This corn, surprisingly, this didn't get any manure this spring. It got all manure in the fall. It's looking absolutely killer. So definitely knee high. We're mowing some roadsides, getting it cleaned up. We don't plant right up to the field because one, or roads, because one, that's just, it's not professional in my eyes. And 2, we got culvert right here, plus people throw their trash and stuff like that. Well, looks way better all cleaned up. Across the road got planted later because it was really wet, and it is catching up. Stay. It is catching up. So yeah, I do got some weird grassy spots. What are you doing? Out in the middle of some spots. See, like right here, people's trash. Yeah, that's why you don't want hay fields that go right up to the edge of the road, because people throw all their trash in them. So that's why. Actually, that over there I leave as hay, because this used to all be hay when I was a kid, and it grows great corn. At some point I'll probably seed it down, we'll rotate it down, but it's a really good cornfield. But I leave this one because the neighbor, it's been twice now that, well, he's got sweet corn over there, and he asked us not to plant corn up to it years ago, but he found my father, I think twice. Once he got kicked by the square bell kicker out in here and he had a concussion. I think the other time he fell off the truck or something like that. So just courtesy of respect. So alrighty, I'll clean the other side of the road up. So we used to cranberry farm. For those of you who don't know, this is what a cranberry bog looks like. We never farm this section here. I'll explain when we get further over there. In my lifetime, never farmed any of that. I've been stuck out there quite a few times though, and tractors mowing it. So cranberries use a lot of water, so there's a lot of dikes and reservoirs and everything else like that. So like I said, we've never farmed this section of cranberries in my life. The bog is over 100 years old. This was run down. We renovated quite a few sections. I'm gonna have to look up the date, the year that we stopped growing cranberries. The whole reason we stopped growing cranberries was because the market fell apart. Ocean Spray built a lot more bogs with the best varieties, with the idea that China was gonna buy cranberries, but to be cranberry juice, you have to be 0.5% juice or 0.5% cranberry. So you know what they did instead? Flooded the market with apple juice concentrate, which is much cheaper to make, so that killed the cranberry industry very, very quickly. There's a few people that were in the A pool for Ocean Spray that are still making good money, or that diversified, but there's a lot of people went out of business. You used to be able to make a good living on 10 acres of cranberries. This whole bog is 40 some acres. But with that being said, it was part of our puzzle in life, and it just fell apart. We held on for years after, and we've mowed out here. Like I've said, we haven't got over to the other side in a while. Used to mow with the little 2155. This tractor might be a little too heavy for it. So the first section that's way out in the front, and I'll point it out when we go by it, that was all ready to go into cranberries. Then everything started falling apart. We have the irrigation pump, we had the pipe, we leveled it, we did all the sand. So cranberries actually grow in sand that is on top of peat. So you got to keep adding sand to it. And there's people out on it now. We used to battle people walking on the bog, dogs running during the growing season. And what cranberries actually is it's a vine. So there were some sections that were over 100 years old, and they kept growing. The bog was very run down, though. We did renovate it. We renovated a lot of sections. The bog is like 1.5 feet uneven from one side to another. So this is what the state of it is right now. It's basically going to be a wasteland if we're just maintaining as much as we can for the town. But so this section right here we renovated, same with the far sections, to put cranberry vine in. It's like $30,000 an acre. You don't see a return for 3 years because cranberries don't grow in those sections. You don't harvest it because there's people that grow just the vine and you actually press it in. That's what it does, and then it takes root of it and gets going. So, but that's cranberries down in there. Our bog, the driveways, the ditches and the dikes and everything, they're all raised up because of the elevation change in it. New bogs are all perfectly flat. They're in sections. So growing cranberries is not that enjoyable. In the spring, when there's frost, you have to make sure that the irrigation stays running, because if the irrigation shuts off, then the plant actually freezes and dies. So the idea is you keep it going, you keep water on it, and it keeps the warmth in, and that's what does it. They do it in grapes too, with like helicopters or something with the air. But yeah, so you can see the vine down there. Nothing will grow. We used to bring bees in. Well, something might grow a little bit, but we used to bring bees in to help pollinate it. But it's been like 6-7 years since we've touched the bogs, and stuff's growing up. Last year my brother actually went out as part of our agreement with the town to maintain it. He went out with a track skid steer and mowed on each section. He got buried quite a few times. Muck soil sucks you in. We actually had a tractor when I was a little kid get stuck in the bog. The first wrecker pulled in to get it out. Somebody had drove it off the ditch, and basically it's quicksand. You step in that and you start sinking. So you can imagine when you have a piece of equipment that weighs 15,000 plus pounds, what it does to it. It just sucks it in. So first wrecker showed up, and sure enough, they slid in, and I think it took 4 more wreckers to get that first wrecker back out. I've been stuck in here in the dozer with the low ground pressure, which that was not a good time of my life. Yeah, I was young and dumb. Well, yeah, this mower actually, this is the reason why we got the mowers, to mow around the edges, because I can hang it off and I can get most of it. We used to borrow a bat wing, or an actual wing arm mower and do all of it. It's slow paced. We never actually bought one. Looking back, we probably should have, because we always dealt with somebody else's thing, and when it broke, it was expensive and it was blamed on us or whatnot, even if we didn't do anything. So yeah, so this section here we farmed. I forget how many acres are here. This section was all sand, ready to go, level, laser leveled, ready, irrigation pipe, pump, and then the market started falling apart, so we decided to hold off on that. So that's perfect, that side. This side, not so much. So these sections here, first 3 sections is actually bigger, new varieties. So there's Stevens and there's Howes. We got a big rock there. And the Howes are much bigger. And there's a few other varieties. I know there's more and more. I have friends that's what they did for a living, was cranberry agronomist and advisors, pretty much. But the idea was, if you can get the best growing berry, you'd have minimal weed pressure because the bog thrived. The older varieties, they couldn't compete. So typical thing in agriculture, you just got to get efficient and be best yields you can get out of it. The problem with cranberries is what you did this year will affect your yields 5 years down the road. So trying to get better yields, and somebody could do something on one bog and the neighbor across the street do the same thing, and they'd have 2 different results. One could fail, one could be great. So it's very, very challenging to raise cranberries because there's no perfect way of doing it, like adding sand, keeping the water flooded in the spring. Cranberries don't grow in water. That's one way of harvesting it. So wet harvest, which is cranberries growing in water or floating in water as you harvest it, goes into concentrate. It has to be processed right away unless it gets freezed. I think that's something Ocean Spray does. There is a good video on YouTube about it. Let's see if I can sneak around this corner without doing anything bad. I hate that link. I gotta get a bungee cord for it. So dry harvest, you make more money on it, at least in the years past. I don't know what the market is right now. I don't know what pricing is, so don't ask me. You'd make more money, but you would not get paid till they use your product. So you would bring it in, you'd spend more time, manual labor. We did dry harvest some, and it was like blueberry pickers with fingers, and it would pick the berries, then you'd sort them. You'd put them through a bounce board system that a bad berry wouldn't bounce, a good berry would, and then you'd have to have some visual looking at it, because a bad cranberry in a box will ruin the rest of the cranberries. So we did that. But like I said, you don't get paid till they actually use that berry. So if it's in storage for a year, it's in storage for a year and you do not get paid. So there was a premium for that. But you'd see the guys that would be down on the Cape and whatnot, they'd have the helicopters out lifting the boxes off. I'll sneak back up over here. This guy's, I bumped into him twice. Or not bumped into him, but I found him twice. So that's a little history on what goes on a cranberry farm. Like I said, we had a lot of, like, it's a big bog. It just got to the point where you couldn't financially justify keeping it going. Never mind the lack of sleep and everything else that went on with it. That it was brutal on that side of it. So it did look cool. I'm gonna put these down and see if that helps. There we go. Raising cranberries did look cool. It always, the floating berries in the bog and everything else like that. But yeah, I'm glad we don't raise cranberries any longer. I would have zero sleep. But if all you did was raise cranberries, then that's a little different picture, but we milk cows. So when we would harvest, we'd want it cold and rainy so that it would be, we wouldn't have to keep flooding the bog at night to try to keep the berries alive and everything else like that. So ideal, that was ideal, but also meant that it was miserable to work in. And Evan, who you've seen in previous videos, when I went to New Zealand, he came and actually harvested cranberries, and well, he has some choice words about harvesting cranberries and being soaking wet all the time and everything else like that. So, yeah, it was all part of it. So now, a lot of the land in town, if it's open space, it's either owned by Carlisle, Town of Carlisle, conservation, stuff like that, and that keeps open space going. So the town actually owns the cranberry bog, but a lot of people walk their dogs, people ride horses, some mountain biking down here, a lot more in the park. Fishing. Winter people go out and play hockey on the ponds. So we used to play hockey out here. Big. So in the winter with cranberries, you want to freeze the you want to flood it. You want to freeze the water, and that layer of ice actually protects the bog, the vines, from the harsh elements. So on years when you don't have enough sand or have enough snow and cold, it can be more of a struggle. And at the same time, if you want to put more sand on for helping the vine growth, you would go out and spread on it. So we actually have a thing that goes behind the tractor that spreads sand, and I've seen a lot of neat, interesting things. Like there's some guys on the Cape or down towards New Jersey or something, I forget, they're the biggest guys. They got some like boats. They got boats, barges, and they actually go out and do it. I think dairy farming is a select few people in the world. I know a lot of people that are watching the channel are dairy farmers. I'm not gonna get myself stuck. We'll hit it on the way back. Cranberry farmers, there's even fewer. So Dana Prouty, who actually lives in central part of the state, Hardwick, where? I think he's in Hardwick. He actually built a bog, and they do dry harvest, and they supply to Stone Cow Brewery, Carter and Stevens farm there. So, which is unique, but it's stuff like that that you got to do to keep it going, because just raising cranberries is challenging. Definitely like having a headset. I think my first few videos, it wasn't low enough, so you couldn't see what I was talking about in front of me. But I think we're better off now. We will see. I apologize if it's still a little too high. But see, you don't grow cranberries and then little trees grow up and stuff like that. It's like anything. You don't use it and it goes to this. And we've tried to work with the town. Pretty much, it can go to a wetlands, it can raise cranberries, or you can put grass on it. And we've talked with the people, years and years and years of talking about putting grass out here. And our concern long term is going to be that there's people fighting that they don't want any agriculture, they want it left as it is, or this or that. And frankly, you cannot go in those wetlands if you are not agricultural purposes. So technically it's a wetlands if no ag is going on. So we will see what really happens in the future here. It will be a shame if this open space just becomes a wasteland and it looks like a dead swamp, because that's usually what happens. The beavers get into it and stuff dies and it gets waterlogged and nothing actually grows, and mosquitoes and everything else. So yeah, that's, we'll see. My father's worked very hard over the years to try to get this converted to grass, and we would make, the idea would be we would make round bales, silage bales on it, and that would give us more feed and be a good utilization of the area. But the town, there's a few people in town that think it's better off as no agriculture and believe that heavily, and it's unfortunate. So they fight back on ideas. And frankly, as I said, it was wet. So out in like onion country, Western New York, I guess it's Western New York, there's places that farm soybeans, onions rotated on muck soil, and it's not so much more wider tires, things like that. It's that they actually tile the ground and they use pumps and they pump it out. So this ground is unbelievably fertile, but it could be unbelievably wet. So it's water management at that point. And I would like to get to that point where we can do that. And I'd like these trees trimmed back, because that's just, but got to pick my times. I'm hoping that I finish up. I got one other place to actually rotary mow, another customer. And then I'd like to get into working on my tractors, getting the chopper all fixed up from what I needed. Working on the other tractors, the skid steer, the Ackerman excavator, you know, especially because I've been sitting online buying stuff, so I need my pickup back. So I did call on that today, because I think I'll have time Friday to go pick it up, but we will see. We'll swing down there. I got more of it that time. It's sketchy when you get stuck in a ditch. I was hoping towards dark people would be out of here, but it is a nice sunset, so those people are standing on the walkway. So we'll go finish up mowing around that corner. What time is it? 8:20? Never enough time in the day. Last pass. Worked our way around. You can see, well, maybe you can't see, there's no lily pads right in the front. That's pretty deep. When I was a little kid, I remember it. We had a old Mack we borrowed and a long reach excavator we hired in, and we dug. It was all drained down, and we dug all that out. It was wild times. So that gave extra capacity. So it drops down there pretty quickly. You don't want to drive off that. And as you see, it drops down that way pretty quickly. And that was for water storage. As you see, the water's pretty high. I don't know why they put another board in. Unless he's trying to drain it down so we can get out there and mow. A lot of rocks. That's good for it, right? This house in front of us that we're gonna get up to, that used to house a pump. It's like 160 horsepower, straight 6 John Deere motor. We got it out, and there was some comments in previous videos, you need a standalone unit with a Murphy switch or something. You need a Murphy switch on the motor when we were pumping. My goal is to set that up to run the manure pump. That way we don't tie a tractor up at all. And I think that's my father's goal too. But they're not giving those setups away with the clutches and everything else. And there's some concrete underneath there from the old culvert pipes. Yeah, it got gutted when they pulled the motor out, and motor's at the house now. I remember lots of times when I was a little kid, I'd come out here with my father. We'd get that going 10 o'clock at night. Well, probably earlier than that. What are we doing here? But I remember it firing up and driving around, and out there you'd have irrigation heads, and you drive around with the spotlight looking for one, and you do that every 30 minutes, hour, all night till the next morning to prevent frost or prevent the plants from freezing. Nico's all about biting at the trees. He doesn't know there's 2 deer out there. 3 deer. But little kid running around, soaking wet, 30 degrees out. Yeah, it was living. Irrigation heads. So the problem would be the little irrigation heads, you'd get like a cranberry leaf or a little stick stuck in it, and it would go through the pump, and then it would plug the head, then the head wouldn't turn, so that then the water wouldn't stay running around. So that definitely taught you a lot of lessons in life. How to run, how to jump over ditches, how to not to get sprayed with everything, because you know once you're soaked, you're soaked. So a lot of life lessons. But I think this will be my last, yeah, this is my last row. Well, see, they built driveways out, my brother did, so he could get out with the skid steer after they destroyed all the ramps. It got stuck enough. Actually, I think I destroyed the ramps. I don't know if I got that video any longer. I should have had my GoPro running. But we had the mini loader out there, and yeah, he sank into a ditch and was sideways. Machine was in there. I was nervous. We got it out though. Broke a chain, or broke a cable. Yeah, see, trees just grow up. It's crazy. So the fact that people think that it would be a good idea to just leave this, let it grow up, it would look like an eyesore in like 6-7 years. It would be disgusting. So there is people out there in the world that think agriculture shouldn't exist and the grocery stores is where all the food comes from. It's hard to really believe that, but there is people who think that. They'd rather not see any of it and live in a little perfect world instead of face the fact that there is people that work hard to feed everybody else, protect everybody else, and keep things moving in the world, and the world's not a perfect place. So somebody put a bench there. That looks good though. So I think it was this section, like right out there, maybe. I don't know. I should point these lights up, but I'm almost done. I was a little disappointed this tractor didn't come with the back lights. We're drifting the mower. Can't see much now. The fender lights, I told my father we should add them on because that makes a world of a difference in the back. We added them on the 7320. So I'm pretty excited to have the head mount back to go chopping. Definitely gives me more use of my hands. I don't know how good this footage is going to be with it being dark. GoPro doesn't really like it being dark. My back window, I know it's filthy. I'm sorry. I did clean windows the other day. Was it on this? It was on this. Just gets so dusty anytime you do anything. And no. Oh, it did start spraying. The other day it didn't want to spray. There we go. Sorry, people. I guess we got it to spray. Oh, is that better? You got a good view? Alright. You don't fold up till you get all the way to the entrance, because you might find some spots where you're like, oops, forgot that. Whoever did the burnouts, cut the shit. That looks good though. All cleaned up, right up close to the corn. That's what I live for. Perfection. Looking good, getting it done. Yeah, it's always best to have a good name for yourself. And having stuff clean and proper definitely helps a lot. People remember a lot of that stuff. Had to move this sign which says agricultural lease fields, please stay on marked trails. Yeah, people still don't listen. Ooh, and smash myself in the head. I don't know how they had it sitting. But figured clean this up. I don't know how much you can see. Corn's looking good. Got some done today. Not nearly enough, but I appreciate you guys. Wow, that is bright. I appreciate you guys joining along, having some fun with me, learning some history of my life, of our family, of the Cranberry Bog. Yeah, either we're gonna be rotary mowing or we're gonna be replanting. That's what we really gotta do. I'm gonna go with we're gonna replant. I'm waiting on some stuff to come in. It should be in by tomorrow. We will see. But I appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one.